What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is Leo's Nerd Talk, and today we're going to be talking about 28 Weeks Later. So let's get into that. Hi, my name is Leo. If you talk about movie, TV show, video game later, or just anything nerdy, you are in the right place. And like I said, today we are talking about 28 Weeks Later. So without further ado, let's get into the review. Now, with 28 years later, just around the corner, I'm actually going to go see it tomorrow night. I'm continuing my 28 series review series. I did 28 days about 4 or 5 days ago, and here I'm out doing now 28 weeks. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get straight into my pros. So starting off my pros, I absolutely love the premise of this movie. Now, this might be spoilers. This is also almost a 20-year-old movie. So hope this doesn't spoil too much. And also you kind of learn this within the first like 20 minutes of the movie or so. So it's not necessarily fully spoilers, but essentially what this movie is it takes place 28 weeks after the original outbreak, and it's showing society kind of rebuilding. You know, the infected all died from starvation. They weren't able to feed, and the infected is for the most part all eradicated. And we have the United States Army infiltrated into the UK and trying to rebuild it, starting to quarantine people and slowly rebuild as they start to get rid of all the infected bodies that are left around the United Kingdom, and slowly bring people back in from where they were and try to keep anybody that was a survivor quarantined, make sure they're not infected, keep everybody safe. And that is just the initial premise of this movie, which I do thoroughly enjoy. It's very, very rare that we see a zombie movie. You know, this is not necessarily a zombie movie, it's more of an infected movie. But rarely do we see an apocalypse style movie like this, where after, you know, a month or so, not a month, after, you know, about 2 years, pause, really, motherfucker? 28 weeks is 2 years? Bro, okay. I was thinking about 28 months, and that's about 2 years. 28 weeks is about 6 months. So this motherfucker up here has no idea what he's talking about. Don't listen to him. Anyways, back to the video. It ends up being that the zombies or infected are all dead, and we're already starting to rebuild. And if the infection is contained, you know, life seemingly can go back to normal, which is very, very rare for an apocalypse style movie like this. Typically, it's a domino effect, and it just continues to spread and spread and spread and spread, and it's literally uncontrollable. So I like that we have a different viewpoint from it. And obviously, this whole movie is not just about the rebuilding of the United Kingdom after the apocalypse. There's obviously something going to go down where the infected is going to come back. And I like that this movie feels more like the initial outbreak than the initial outbreak did. You know, obviously in 28 days later, we are starting to follow Cillian Murphy's character 28 days after. So we never get that like day one, like infection or spread, where in this movie we get that. It's such a crazy intense moment where there's so much going on, all these people packed into this little facility. And again, it just starts to spread rampantly. And again, something that I really liked about those movies, they kept that very erratic kind of shot choice where everything is just so like cut. And it's so in your face and so visceral and dangerous. And it just feels, you feel again that rage. You feel the fear of these infected, where it's again, it is just rage. It's not a reanimated person like you would have a traditional zombie. It is just literal rage, but they still have the desire to like feed on flesh for the most part. I mean, at least they bite people. Again, you never see them really like rip apart into a human and start feeding on them, but they do like to bite people. So it kind of teeters that line between a traditional zombie movie and your infected movie that we kind of get here. Another thing that I like is all of our characters. I think everybody does an amazing job. We have a little bit more of a bigger star here with Jeremy Renner. He's not necessarily the main character. He's kind of more of a side character, but I enjoy everybody. And you get, speaking of some of our characters, you get such a great, like, cold open to this film that is absolutely devastating and horrific and visceral. And it is just so emotional. And you follow this person for about half of the movie or so, and you feel the weight on his shoulder of the decisions he had to make in that cold open. And it is just so heartbreaking. And it sucks to see him go through that, you know, that position where it's more of a fight or flight type of situation, and he chose to flight, to leave and run away and kind of leave everybody that he loved behind to save himself. And there's a lot of people that can relate to that. There's a lot of people that would hate the character for doing something like that. So you have such a layered dynamic of this character. And when he finally reunites with his kids, you see how he, in his mind, is still being haunted by what he did, but he has to kind of come forward with his kids, but not tell them the full truth, so he doesn't seem like a bad person. And you just feel that weight on his shoulders. And then on top of his kids, I do enjoy his kids for the most part. They don't feel too significant. They're kind of the main characters for the more or less, but for the most part, they do a good enough job here to really care about them, to invest yourself in them. And they obviously really point out like what the twist is of this movie. And you can kind of see with like the two colored eyes of what that really means, in terms of like the virus and a vaccine that could possibly happen further on. You kind of see that twist coming, a mile away, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But they are still pretty good characters. And then you have, again, Jeremy Renner, who I think was a great addition, who you have this kind of like army dude that seemingly is kind of like a whatever guy. He doesn't really care about nobody except for himself and his couple army buddies. And, he kind of sees the whole outbreak as like a laughing matter. He makes jokes and stuff like that, pretending to be an infected person. But then you get that switch up where he seemingly wants to save his own ass, of course, but still cares about the people around him and doesn't want to just shoot people or kill people just because he got a command from up top. He's more of a logical person than that, where he's not going to blindly follow orders. So I really enjoy that. And then the shot choices of this movie, again, extremely visceral. The way they shoot the infected, the gore, I think is done a lot better. This obviously feels like a much higher budget movie, where in 28 Days Later, you obviously have more of a independent amateur film style. This definitely feels a little bit more of a higher production. There's a lot more people involved. The cities feel more filled, bigger set pieces. So you get a lot more of that in this movie. And it's very nice to see that kind of progression within this series. And then again, shot choices, directing, I think everything looked pretty good for the most part. The score I thought was fantastic. You really feel like that anxiousness with the score and the imagery that's being shown to you at all times. So this movie is just so fast paced where you never really get a chance to breathe, even in the moments where it's seemingly to be kind of like your downtime. They do such a great job of making you feel tense and like you feel like something's gonna happen at any second. So that is just great directing, great filmmaking to make you feel tense throughout the entire runtime. You never feel like you have a chance to just breathe. And overall, this movie is just action-packed, horror-filled, gore-filled. It is just so intense. Such an enjoyable watch. So much more visceral than the original movie, but has a different flavor to it, where I felt like the original was a lot more like horror-centric. This is a lot more like action horror. So it definitely has a different vibe, but it's so welcome. And I just had such a great time with it. But moving on to my cons, and I don't have too much. For the most part, I do enjoy this movie, but it's just little nitpicks here and there. For one, where in the original movie, you can definitely tell that the filmmaking feels dated, where it's extremely grainy, extremely low resolution. While this definitely has a better resolution, better looking film, the outdated portion of it is all like the CGI, like the CGI helicopters, the CGI tanks, the CGI fire and smoke throughout the city. It sticks out like a sore thumb, kind of takes you out of it a little bit, but you can absolutely notice it instantly. It looks like a video game when you see like the helicopters flying around. So it just feels extremely outdated in that aspect. But, you can try to forgive it, but you can definitely see where this early CGI moments of like the earlier 2000s, where a lot of the flaws came in doing heavy CGI and not doing such a great job of trying to obscure it, where it's not extremely noticeable up front. And I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but you do see the twist a mile away of what the cure entails, and they lean into it super early on with the little boy, and you can just tell instantly where that's going, where that's heading. So when you get that reveal, it's not necessarily satisfying. It's kind of like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. You can just put two and two together fairly easily. And while I do enjoy everybody in this movie, everybody I think does a great job in terms of their acting, their emotion, the drama that's being taking place. There are moments where you have pretty cringy dialogue, and the way it kind of presents itself feels a little off, where it feels very like quick pace, and then it like stops to be very slow, and the line delivery it kind of doesn't meet the tempo of what's going on. It ends up being kind of cringy and a little weird at times, but it's something you can definitely look over because it doesn't happen often. It's just very small moments where I noticed it. But that is going to be it for this one. Let me know what you guys think about the 28 movie series. Let me know what you guys think about the 28 weeks later. Are you guys excited to go see 28 years later? I am extremely excited. But let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Love to hear everything like that. But again, if you guys like Tom and Think movie, TV show, video related, or just anything nerdy, you are in the right place. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you.